I want to welcome everybody. So let's go ahead and let's stand and do the prayer and the pledge of allegiance of the flag.
Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this day, for this is the day that you have made, and we have rejoiced in it all day long. Lord, we thank you for this community. We thank you for each and every one that's assembled here this evening. Most importantly, Lord, we thank you for this council. Continue to lead, guide, and direct us and give us wisdom and understanding when making decisions. Lord, we thank you for each and every one in the Talbot County community. We ask that you bless them and their families. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, all right. All right, let's go get ahead and get started. Mr. Lesher will be here probably 10, 15 minutes, and Mr. Stepp is on vacation, so we wish him the best and have fun. Okay, let's get started on the agenda. So the council has the agenda of July 25th before us. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? No. Okay. Hearing none, the chair moves that the agenda be accepted as unanimous consent. Next is the disbursements of July 18th, and July 25th. Council's had a chance to review them. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the disbursements?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, the chair moves that the disbursements be accepted as unanimous consent. Next on the agenda is the minutes of June 27th. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections to that?
Nope.
Okay.
None at this time.
Hearing none, the chair moves that the minutes be accepted as unanimous consent. Okay, so what's up first tonight? We've got the sheriff here, and Ray, I think. Oh, yep. Mike, I'm sorry. Yep. And you guys want to come on up? Okay. Traffic Advisory Committee recommendations on Black Dog Alley in Easton, and just bring us up to date on everything. How you doing, Sheriff? How you doing, Mike?
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having us tonight.
Yep, no problem. Appreciate you being here.
The less difficult ones first, or
Okay.
the involved ones first.
Yeah. No problem.
So Black Dog Alley, and we're not really asking for recommendation from council because we think we're good in what we planned. It's our a very heavily traveled road, as you well know.
Right.
And it's our highest traffic accident road in the county, outside of the town of Easton. We have more accidents there, documented accidents, than any other county road. Part of the problem is it's very narrow when you come off 331, when you're heading towards 328. About half of the accidents are intersection accidents, and Chapel and Black Dog Alley is the most dangerous of all of them. So we met, and we're gonna, with Mike and Brian LeCage, as well as Brian Moore, and people are just running that stop sign. Some people are from out of the area, and they're not. It's a cut through on your phone to go to the beach now. I actually stopped a car that passed me like 70 on it. I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to the beach." He routed me around here to get through Easton traffic. So there's a lot more traffic traveling through there. So anyway, we're gonna put some white stop lines there as a visual where the stop signs are. We increased the size of the stop signs about a year ago.
Yeah.
Probably about a year ago. They're very bit large, but the way the sun hits that area at certain times, it seems like they're running. So we're gonna put a white stop line there. We're gonna put a stop ahead sign there, try to make it a little better. But I just wanted to put it on your radar that if and when the hospital ever gets approved, you can have all the South Carolina residents, visitors, and employees to the hospital using that as a cut through. About half of our other accidents are in that stretch between three. Sorry. Thanks, Glenn.
You were getting comfortable.
That's why he gets paid the
That's right,
big
you were
bucks.
getting comfortable.
The other half, almost a half of those accidents that occur on Black Dog Alley are in that narrow stretch right in front of the welding shop. We call it the welding shop, between 331 and 328. So it probably, and I think it is on the agenda at some point to be addressed but not funded because if we're gonna start sending ambulances down that road
Mm-hmm.
to get to a new hospital, all the ones coming from South Carolina,
Mhm.
that really is a tight, there's no shoulder at all. And most of those are single cars going into the ditch, and having one car accidents on that stretch.
So that stretch of Black Dog between Matthewstown Road and 331, we've actually, it's under design, so we have, I think the council funded 50% design, so we could get far enough along to figure out right-of-way needs.
Mhm.
So we're, probably 75% through that effort right now. And so I guess we'll, move forward once we
Okay.
get those needs identified, so.
So for now, can you explain to the public
Sure.
what you're gonna do now? You're gonna put some lines down on the road. Do you think it would help? Because I travel that every day too. When you're coming off of Dover Road and basically turning in, it's real blacktop, but it's
Right.
black. Do you think it would help to put white lines on the sides to help people?
So it would. I know that oftentimes, one of the problems, like a lot of our roads that don't have, some of them do have white lines on the sides. And
Uh-huh.
quite frankly, and even the ones in the middle, oftentimes it's a function of the road being wide enough for the striping truck to do what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
But on the sides, it would be beneficial. We could look into that.
I was just thinking for that road, because I tell you when it's black and it's raining out, you really just
Right.
can't tell.
Right.
You know, it might help, you know?
Okay.
It
No,
might
that's a
help.
good suggestion.
Yeah.
We'll
Then I
certainly-
have a
okay.
question too.
Yeah, go
What
ahead.
about tractor trailers traveling on that road? Because I travel that road too, because I live off of Matthewstown Road. And like today, the tractor trailer literally cut off of Route 50 to take Black Dog Alley all the way to the end, I'm assuming, because they kept going past the Matthewstown Road light. So is there
There
any?
was a proposal before the last council or council before sometime?
Last council.
Previous council.
Yeah,
yes.
previous council.
To limit the size of trucks on that, and the
Mhm.
previous council. did
It
not-
does get complicated.
Yeah.
You start getting into limiting commerce and things of that nature. But there was a lot of objection from the public to do that. Not saying that it can't be done, but it's certainly something we could revisit again.
Yeah, because in other areas, there are restrictions on tractor trailers going through certain areas, and they have signs posted or during certain times, that they can't travel through certain areas.
Right.
But I do see the increased traffic in tractor trailers, and as the sheriff said, just individuals on the weekends,
Right.
just flying on Black Dog
Mhm.
Alley.
Well, and in general, the traffic here has increased.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, certainly, right.
Right.
And, we've restricted truck traffic associated with the landfill on Dover Neck Road and Dutchman's Lane and all that sort of thing. And then, in this case, one of the things the state of Maryland gets involved in is that there has to be a viable alternative route for trucks to take. And in this case, there certainly is.
Route
You've got,
Route
what is that
50.
road? Oh, yeah,
That's
Route
right.
50,
Highway,
yeah.
right. That should be the
So,
route, right.
we can certainly revisit that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'd actually done 330 radar assignments on Black Dog Alley Road in the last 30 months, I think, and we had 50 accidents, so we continue to work it, but I think with the improvements to that intersection at Chapel, it should lower some. Next on our list was, and some easy ones, Miles River Road, it's one lane, it's like basically a driveway getting back there with some turnoffs, so Mike's gonna hopefully try to identify a signage that I went to a community meeting there. They asked if they had a sign that would say like, here's a pull-off spot. We don't know what that sign's gonna look like, but, so people
Right.
can actually pull off, cause only one car can get down there at a time, and there was just another one there yesterday where somebody went off the road and in the ditch and had to get a tow truck, cause, the ditches are very deep and it's literally one car, road.
We had hoped that we could, require the traffic on the side that the pull-off is, that they would have to pull off for opposing traffic, but you know, we go by the manual, the Uniform Traffic Control Devices Manual, and it doesn't want us to do that. So we thought if we just did some signs that identify them, because there's a lot of pine trees, and quite frankly, they get covered up with pine needles and such, and so we thought maybe the signs would at least help say, here it is, so.
Radcliffe Avenue in St. Michael's, and we've had this a couple times, not specifically there at Radcliffe Avenue, but in other cul-de-sacs, county cul-de-sacs, you know, it's just a turnaround where people who live on the cul-de-sac park their car out there on the cul-de-sac, and we have a person who sent the email to county roads requesting that we look at that to possibly post it. The committee's pretty much taken the stance that we don't post county roads for no parking, and we don't post cul-de-sacs for no parking. So our recommendation is not to post it, because I think then we would be going down posting a lot of cul-de-sacs.
So the request was that it appeared to be more of an aesthetic concern of people parking. It wasn't blocking any driveways or anything of that nature, so we didn't see any justification for a parking restriction on that.
Okay, all right.
Back Creek?
Back Creek Landing, remind me of that one, Mike.
That's the request for the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Oh, right, so Back Creek Landing runs off of Peeneck. It's a dead end back to about 30 houses, 35, 40 houses?
Yeah, 40 houses.
40 houses back there. It's currently at 25. All our neighborhood streets are 25.
Correct.
Neighborhood streets in there are 25. They requested to go to 15. They believe that it's more contractors type people that aren't familiar with it that are speeding through there. There's some turns through there. Our recommendation is that we go to a 20 in that neighborhood. It goes nowhere except for the neighborhood, and there's a lot of turns. And the houses are pretty close together. They're not on the 2-acre lots like most of the quarter-acre lots.
Right.
Houses are closer to the road, and there are a lot of young families back there. So our recommendation is that we change it to a 20 and post that.
Right. And so that, you know, sort of the idea, I guess, is that, I don't know if you've ever seen it, where somebody will have a speed limit sign that says 14 and a half or something strange like that. It's just to be out of the norm. We thought it would be worth trying. It's a tight subdivision, like Mr. Gamble said, a lot of curves, and so we thought it would be a good place to try it. I don't envision doing it in a lot of neighborhoods, but we thought it'd be worth giving it a shot and see if it helps or not.
In terms of enforceability, does that meet the manual, the warrants?
It does for the speed limit change. There won't have to be any advance warning. Probably what we'll do is, if you're familiar with the neighborhood, it has a long entrance road with no houses on it. And we'll probably leave that at a higher speed, and then, you know, right where it gets to the houses, put a lower speed. And as long as the speed difference is less than 15 miles an hour between the two signs, there's no advanced signage needed or anything like that. So we're hoping maybe that will make people more aware, and it's enforceable just like any speed limit sign. Right?
And I'm sure you tossed around the idea, but which people hate them is the speed bump stuff.
The problem with the speed bumps are they make noise. When people go over them, especially with as many people that don't cut their own grass with the trailers in the summer, they're going to hear those squeaky trailers and those rumbles with tires. I mean, we learned that when we did Claiborne with the rumble strips down there that people were complaining. I think we actually had to move them back in either there or Bellevue at some point because we put them too close to a house.
Gotcha.
And it makes a lot of noise.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Good.
And then the last is Rio Vista Bentley Hay Community. About a week and a half ago, I started getting emails from people in the community. There was a dog that was struck there, and we've had reports over the years of people having to jump into the ditches to avoid traffic on the road. You know, there's no shoulder there. There's no sidewalks, obviously. You know, it was built in '52, I think. And the streets aren't the widest of our county roads, that's for sure.
Right.
They were
Right.
built to 52 specs, I guess. So anyway, I started receiving a few emails, had conversations with the heads of both Bentley Hay and Rio Vista. They had a meeting, about 50 people attended the meeting. And there's a packet of emails that I think are with your stuff, probably 60, 70 emails from people in the community requesting all kinds of things. And there was everything from add more stop signs, to build a road through, to the back of the school. There's a road there that was kind of, I guess, a pre-planned road at some point, that we can get into, but, so we looked at all those things, the Traffic Safety Committee looked at all those things and read all the emails and went through them, and I created a list, and through that list, we basically assigned them to different things. There's some things that we're gonna have to do as the sheriff's office as far as patrolling and stop sign violations and speeding, and we've been in there 25 to 28 times in the last 2 months. The traffic data that we pulled off our traffic data signboard, which isn't always the best data because people see the flashing sign. Doesn't show a tremendous speed issue, but with the school and the YMCA, everybody's cutting through there. And after school and before school, they're backing up on 33 for a quarter mile, and everybody runs through the neighborhood. And I'm sure and we've observed people running stop signs, speeding, all those types of things. So anyway, at our meeting, we talked about, okay, is there a short-term fix? And is there a long-term fix? Well, none of us are, Mike has the most qualifications of anybody, but the committee is recommending as a long-term possible fix is to have an outside vendor do a traffic study of the area so they can understand, people that are professional and understand all these things. I mean, I don't understand traffic flow, nor do I want to attempt to. And make recommendations back after the study's done to council to say, hey, here's what we found. We could do this, this, and put, instead of us just looking at it and trying to address every single complaint in the neighborhood and doing stuff that could harm or not be effective. So we're requesting to identify some funding to do a traffic study, preferably after school starts, which it would have to be because school's almost starting now. And to take a look at morning, evening traffic issues all around the school, through that whole community as well as across the street from the school, because people are also exiting the opposite way. You know, are more stop signs needed, or less stop signs needed, or whatever they would come up with, and then bring those back to you. In the short term, 3 of 4 of us, the ones that don't know what do you call that thing?
Manual and uniform traffic
The
control
manual and
devices.
uniform traffic control device. They didn't give me that in the police academy 35 years ago. The 3 of us that don't know anything about the manual and uniform control devices said as a short term, we would look at Lincoln Avenue and put a stop sign at Monroe.
Jackson.
Monroe and Jackson, right? And stop signs at Jackson. Let me make sure I'm right. I'm sorry, it would be at Jackson's the second one down, right?
Right, it's the middle one.
The middle one. So the middle one, it would be at Jackson, I'm sorry. Then we would put a stop signs at Jackson. So basically right now on Lincoln, which is the straightaway, on your map, help me, Mike.
Sure. Oops, sorry, Jack.
Put up the straightaway on the map of Rankin. There
This
you
is
go.
Lincoln here,
There you go.
and this is Jackson.
Yeah.
So I think all these minor streets, you know, Lincoln's essentially the main one, and all these minor streets have stops already where they come into Lincoln.
So 3 of the 4 of us, suggestion to council is to put a 3-way stop at Jackson
So, yeah, so
to slow down the traffic coming down Lincoln, they'd have to hit their brakes. I mean, we know that people are gonna roll through it, but it's more easily enforced, a stop sign violation than a speed violation. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit right now. I mean, realistically, we can't walk into court writing somebody a ticket for doing 30 and a 25 where the judge is gonna laugh us out of court. So it's easier to enforce than the speed limits. So we would hope that it could slow traffic down enough that they're not just racing through the whole community. And then we would do Lincoln at Monroe. No. Yeah, that's all the way, I'm sorry, Lincoln at, Riverview is what I meant.
Which is right down here.
Lincoln at Riverview. And then we would put there's a yellow one up there on Riverview, which right across the water, the yellow one, that would be, we would have there's a dog leg in there. It doesn't look like much on the map, but it is, when you drive it, because of the trees on the road, we would put warning signs for curve ahead 15. Now, that's not enforceable. The 15's the yellow signs. Police can't enforce yellow signs. Those are suggestions, but at least it would draw attention to the curve coming up. One of the biggest problems we have on all these streets is contractors parking the street with their mowers. So you basically take a 2-lane road, turn it into a 1-lane road, and then you've got a F-350 in front of you with 3 mowers on the back. You can't see around as you come around it. So at least with those, we hope that people would notice and slow down. And then we would hope to put a stop sign at Riverview and Seymour.
Right.
So when people are coming to school, they're just whipping right around there, and there's no real slowdown there. The houses north of that are rather large and have large family gatherings all summer. There's a lot of people walking. I mean, if you go down there in the summer, there's people walking. You can see 6, 8 people walking, 2 and 3 families walking dogs and in the street. So we've got to figure out a way to make the neighborhood more safe. So we're hoping the traffic study will help with that, especially when school is in session. There might be less foot traffic in the community at that point, but really that's where the big volume of traffic is coming when school and the YMCA are rolling. And then our thought was to, if we can, we understand with the Tarnship roads it's a little more difficult, is put some white stop lines. I was actually exploring the neighborhood north of the school, and there's a stop sign in the town of St. Michael's, but the tree is totally covered, and I almost ran it if it weren't for the white stop line. It gave me another visual to hit my brakes. And we don't have white stop lines like anywhere in the county. Well, I shouldn't say anywhere in the county, but on most county roads, we don't.
Some of the newer roads, but for most of them,
Yeah.
we don't, right.
So we're hoping if we could put some stop lines, it's another visual for people to slow down, and that would be like our short-term attempt until the traffic study's done. And they might come back and say, yeah, you guys are stupid, put the stop sign here and a stop sign there. I don't know, you know what I mean? But in order to at least try to make the neighborhood more safe until, if you agree to a traffic study, we're trying to make an attempt to make it better.
Okay. That sounds good. Is that it?
So, right, I guess the question would be is whether or not to move forward with doing the additional stop signs, at least on a temporary basis.
Okay.
So it would be at Seymour and Riverview Terrace, it would, right now, the only stop sign is for Riverview to the north coming in, and then for Seymour. We would just add a stop sign for Riverview approach, and then also there's a little county pocket park on the opposite side that we, of course, would put a sign there. And I think it's justifiable, the way the traffic moves. And then at Lincoln and Riverview Terrace, there's a stop sign, again, for Lincoln. So we would just be making it it's a 3-way intersection, so we'd just be making a stop on all approaches. And that way, everyone has to stop.
Okay. All right, council, any further questions?
Nope.
Okay.
No,
Good.
certainly very familiar with that neighborhood, and I think particularly the Madison Riverview, Lincoln and Riverview intersections are thoroughly justified. I know that you're not supposed to use stop signs as merely a way to slow traffic, and I think the one at Jackson is patently an example of that. But
Right.
as an interim measure, until we get this feedback, I'd certainly support the recommendations of the committee.
Yeah, the one at Jackson, it's not, it doesn't meet entirely the warrants for stop signs, but the speeds are low, you know, the speed limit's 25, the potential's low that there's gonna be any serious, impacts from that additional sign. I mean, well, the potential liability is there, but I think it's fairly low.
Okay, all right, good job, both of you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion second.
And
Yes, I'm
I'll
sorry.
second with the
So- okay.
clarification that is
Yep.
this covering also the recommendation for Back Creek HOA, Back Creek Landing?
Mhm.
All the
It's
recommendations.
I think
All
it's
the recommendations.
Right.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, we've got a motion second to approve the recommendations that you guys have put in front of us. Madam Secretary, could you call the roll?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Okay, all right, guys, thanks a
you.
lot, good
And
job.
As far as the traffic study, I've approached our open-end consultant, Wallace Montgomery, who does most of that work.
Mhm.
I'd hope to get a number from them
Okay.
by today, but
Okay.
they're pretty backed up, so
All right,
I'll
no-
probably have more info in a
We'll
week or so.
Okay.
work together with you to identify funding to
That's fine.
carry out the council's desire to do this.
Okay, that'd be great.
I just
Thank
want to say that Brian Moore and his team have been great. They're already out looking at, there's some faded stop signs and some other things that need to be replaced. They're on it.
Okay.
I just talked to him before the meeting, and
Okay.
he's doing a great job.
Okay, great, okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to the committee for its response to these citizen concerns. That's really valuable to the community.
Yep, it is. Okay, right on time here with the public hearing. Madam Secretary, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. You want to go ahead and read the first bill, please, into the record?
Bill number 1545, a bill to amend Chapter 20 of the Talbot County Code, Board of Appeals, for clarity and consistency and regarding the Board of Appeals proceedings, forms, hearings, and procedures.
Okay. Mr. Thomas, you got anything to add to this?
Yes, so this bill was requested by the Board of Appeals in
Mhm.
order to address some concerns that they had with the existing language. The board worked with my colleague Lance Young, who's the
Mhm.
Board of Appeals counsel, on this, and I in turn worked with Lance to put
Okay.
it in the form of a bill. So I believe it reflects what the board would like to see in the county code.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so at this time, I'll go ahead and open to the public. If you want to come on up here and talk, I'll give you 3 minutes to speak, and if you're representing somebody, I'll give you 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and on this side over here, if anybody wants to come on up and speak about 1545, please come on up. Over here. To my left and over here to my right, same one. Yep, come on up.
Frank Kavanaugh, representing the Board of Appeals.
Yeah, would you mind sitting down, Mr. Kavanaugh, right there and talking there so people can hear it? There you go. There
Hi,
you
Frank
go.
Kavanaugh,
Yeah.
representing the Board of Appeals. The board would just ask the county council to approve this bill. This would makes things a little more consistent, and we've worked long and hard with the legal department, and we think we've come up with a good plan here.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay,
Question.
okay, go ahead.
Should I go now?
Yeah, go ahead now.
I attended an appeal of a short-term rental matter, and one of the issues that was raised was that the attorney for the short-term rental board is the county attorney that it also serves as the attorney advising the Board of Appeals, and whether that was a conflict. And so I'm be interested in a resolution of that, because you've got the appearance of a conflict, that you're advising them on the one hand as the short-term rental board, and then you're defending the position or not when it comes for an appeal. So how is that resolved?
So, well, first, and not in every case will the attorney for the short-term rental board need to appear in front of the Board of Appeals to defend the decision. If a short-term rental license is issued and then somebody wishes to contest it,
But isn't there usually an attorney present at their hearings to advise them should a question come up?
there's
That's
an
sort of my
attorney for the
understanding.
board, but that attorney is not the same as the attorney that advises the short-term rental review board. They have, it's helpful to think of it in terms of a county that would have an office of law consisting of several attorneys that advise various boards and commissions, and there actually is an office of an attorney general opinion on this that we rely upon, because this does come up from time to time. And yeah, as long as you have firewalls in place to make sure that the attorneys are not, collaborating or communicating with each other on the case, which we take very seriously in our firm, that the OAG has said that's acceptable. But not in every case will there need to be an attorney representing the board whose decision is being appealed to the Board of Appeals, because in cases like, again, the short-term rental review board, it can be like an appeal from the district court to the circuit court, where the district court isn't going to appear in front of the circuit court and try to defend its decision in front of the circuit court judge, or whether it ruled a certain way. It would, the matter goes up, the parties on either side, either the appellant and the appellee argue their case before the Board of Appeals, and the board makes a decision, and it goes from there.
Okay.
In which case, there's no issue of a conflict, because there's no attorney, the attorney from the short-term rental review board isn't there.
If you don't mind if I just say one word on that topic, because I don't know.
So first, could you recognize who you are, please?
Sure, Brendan
Yeah.
Mullaney with McAllister, Detar, Show, Walter and Walker, 100 Northwest Street, Easton. In the two circumstances that I'm aware of where there was an attorney for the short-term rental review board that worked for the same firm that the attorney for the Board of Appeals was from, the Board of Appeals engaged outside counsel for that proceeding. So to ensure that there wasn't even the appearance of a conflict, the Board of Appeals hired outside counsel.
Gotcha.
Even though there is an Attorney General statement out that confirms that it's okay to avoid even the appearance of a conflict,
Right,
they have
right.
engaged separate counsel.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Mullaney is correct on that point. So in the instances in which that has come up where a decision is being appealed, so we don't want to necessarily have attorneys from the same firm on opposite sides of the table. We have an outside counsel that we always recommend the board to engage to avoid that issue.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Good. All right. Anybody else want to come up and talk about 1545?
Chuck, could I just clarify a couple of,
Yeah, yes, sir. Come on up. Yep.
You're correct. In the past, we have hired outside attorneys to do that. First of all, it's very complicated. It takes a lot of time to review these cases, and it becomes very expensive when we have to go outside and hire outside attorneys.
Right.
So it does add to the cost considerably. We were assured through our legal counsel that we were in the clear with this, because there is a ruling from the Attorney General. And in this particular case, these hearings are on the record. They're on the record with the Short-Term Rental Review Board's meetings. So
Okay.
there is no witnesses or no testimony, new testimony taken in these cases. It has to be based on the testimony that
Gotcha.
was presented at their hearing.
Gotcha.
In that case, there was no reason for them to have an attorney, also have an attorney. He would have had no place
Right.
to argue his position. So we had two opposing attorneys. We had the attorney for the applicant, the people that were opposed to the short-term rental, and then we had the people that wanted to do the short-term rental. We had their attorney. So there were two opposing attorneys, And of course, the attorney for the board is simply to advise the board in legal matters.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay,
But there
sounds
was,
good.
if I could just say, but there was in that instance an occasion where the Board of Appeals consulted with counsel for the Board of Appeals on issues, which to me presented the appearance of a conflict. That it's not just simply that the two parties are represented by independent counsel, but that essentially there's a potential for it to look like the Board of Appeals is getting advice from the law firm that had advised the short-term rental board to begin with.
And we had no testimony, or we had no contact with the short-term rental review board, so.
Well, it's not just testimony, I mean, it's application of facts to the decision, but
Okay.
it's enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, so, at this time, we're going to leave it open, and 15:45 will be eligible to vote on August 8th, okay? Okay, next bill is 1546. Madam Secretary, if you could read that, please.
Bill number 1546, a bill to authorize a feasibility study for and possible future construction of a Talbot County Visitor Center.
Okay. You would help us out with that, Mr. Thomas, please?
So let me pull this up.
Okay.
So this is a capital enabling legislation for authorizing the council to expend up to $50,000 for a feasibility study to determine the need for a visitor center and appropriate site locations, as well as engineering architectural services associated with any design and preparation phases, construction and furnishing of a visitor center if it's to be constructed.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, and once again, I'll open this to the public for the public hearing. And if you'd like to come on up here on my left and voice your opinion on 1546, come on up on my right. Okay, anybody would like to talk about 1546? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and once again leave that open to August 8th, and we'll vote on it then. Okay. All right, now we're going to move on to some bills that are eligible for vote. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and read 1531?
Bill number 1531, a bill to amend bill numbers 1393, 1452, and 1480 to amend the appropriation for the development of the Frederick Douglass Park on the Tuckahoe located at 13213 Lewistown Road, Queen Anne, Maryland.
Okay. Once again, we'll go ahead and it's eligible for vote. I'll open it for discussion. Would anybody like to come on up? And 1531?
No, this isn't the public hearing.
Not a public hearing, just.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Open it for discussion for you guys.
No discussion.
Anything?
Look, this is an important county project, and I think has potential as one of now the county's two larger acreages of public parkland for future development. This is the next step in envisioning the public accessibility, use, and interpretation of that site, and I think it's an important bill for us to pass.
Okay.
So, if nobody else has anything to offer,
Yeah.
I will. This is eligible for vote, so
Yeah.
it doesn't need a
Yep.
motion. We can just vote.
All right. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Mr. Stepp votes aye.
All right. Okay, next bill is eligible for vote is 1532. Madam Secretary, could you read that into the record?
Bill number 1532, a bill to amend bill number 1516 for the purpose of amending the appropriation for improvements to and expansion of the St. Michael's branch of the Talbot County Free Library.
Okay. Well, we definitely been working on that for a while.
Indeed, and for a number of years, this project got kicked back year by year in the county's capital budget, but we've stopped doing that. We've certainly heard from the community about the need to advance this, and we heard from them at the public hearing. Meeting space is going to expand. Space for youth is going to expand. All the core functions of the library, and we know that that's much used space down at St. Michael's.
Yep, I would agree. Any other comments?
Nope.
Council? Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Step?
The vote's aye.
Okay, great. All right, next bill is 1533.
A bill to authorize improvements to the Talbot County Detention Center.
Okay. Need discussion on that?
A number of us had tours of the detention center, and this is now aging infrastructure for the county, and I think both for the safety of all involved, staff and those incarcerated there, we need to make these improvements.
Okay, I would agree. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Step?
Aye.
Okay. Next, bill eligible 1534, Madam Secretary.
A bill to amend bill numbers 1424 and 1486 for the purpose of amending the appropriation to purchase improved or unimproved real property for future county purposes.
Okay. Any discussion?
So this title may have a slightly may be slightly confusing to some, but the county, this gives the county the ability to negotiate for parcels. I think we've done some specifically, but such as the proposed emergency services station up on Cordova Road, which will allow us to add another ambulance unit, I believe is being explored under this type of funding. So this is again important for advancing some of those specific future county projects.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and vote on 1534. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Step?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Next is 1535.
A bill to amend bill number 1488 for the purpose of amending the appropriation for the upgrade or replacement of the wastewater treatment plant at the preserve at Y Mills.
Okay.
No discussion.
This is one where the county has just recently taken possession of this. We're now pursuing Maryland Department of Environment funding to replace this plant. This is part of our commitment to ensure that we have a safe, a system up there that is going to contribute to public health and the water quality in the Y River watershed. This is not a new project, and it's been a number of years coming. It's important for us to be able to follow up on this commitment.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay.
Aren't the homeowners also contributing to?
So ultimately, the county
They
pays
will
for
be.
this up front, but ultimately, all the costs for this will be borne by the ratepayers for that
Yep.
sewer district.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. We'll go ahead and vote on 1535. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Step?
Aye.
Okay, next is 1536, Madam Secretary. Could you read it?
Bill number 1536, a bill to amend bill number 1187 for the purpose of authorizing the appropriation for extension of water and sewer lines to the proposed University of Maryland Shore Regional Medical Center hospital site located between Longwoods Road, Maryland Route 662 and US Route 50 in Easton, Maryland.
Okay, discussion?
The county made a commitment to support the new medical, the new hospital up north of the up north of the airport. And this is one of the ways extending the utilities up to that site. In the 15 to 18 years that we've been going through this process, the costs have gone up. And so we need to update this appropriation to make sure that we can cover that bill.
And it's an appropriation, but only if, as, and when the hospital's gonna go forward with their construction, correct?
I'll defer to staff for the answer.
Yeah, so presently, they have applied for CON. They hope to hear by the end of the year, thumbs up, thumbs down, moving forward with the hospital. This would position us to meet our obligation under the DRAA, which obligates us to supply water and sewer utilities to the site of the hospital. But again, this is only if the hospital moves forward, of which we all hope it does.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Madam Secretary, let's go ahead and call for the vote for 1536.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Okay, next is 1537.
Bill number 1537, a bill to amend bill numbers of 1484 and 1509 for the purpose of amending the appropriation for a capital project for the construction of emergency medical services stations.
Okay. Discussion?
Again, I think this is principally for that facility up on Cordova Road that will allow us to add a permanent ambulance unit, or to actually locate a permanent ambulance unit up in the northeast corner of the county so that we can reduce response times in that part of the county to what is the standard.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, Madam Secretary, could we vote on 1537? Could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the list is 1539.
Bill number 1539, a bill to authorize the construction of and improvements to a driving range complex at the Talbot County Hogneck Golf Course.
I know Miss Melfi's going to say something.
This is an exciting proposal for an addition to Hogneck that is going to provide a place where families can gather and perform sports. It's a new rage in many golf courses, and I think that it's going to be a great asset to our community and to the golf course. I think the two most profitable accesses of the golf course are the driving range and the executive.
Right.
So this will be a third addition to it, and
Right.
I urge support for it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Good. Okay, Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and call the vote for 1539?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Okay. Next is 1540.
Bill number 1540, a bill to amend bill number 1460 for the purpose of amending the appropriation for a gymnasium addition to the Talbot County Community Center.
So the interesting question on this is where is the money coming from to build this? And of course, we already are doing this. There's been changes in costs over time. All of the funding is in fact coming from state open space funding allocated to Talbot County. And so these additional costs, minor additional costs, will likewise come from that same source, I'm sure.
Okay. Any other questions?
No questions.
Okay. Madam Secretary, can we vote on 1540?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Okay. Next is 1541. Madam Secretary, could you read that into the record?
Bill number 1541, a bill to amend bill number 1506 for the purpose of authorizing the appropriation for improvements to county roads.
Any discussion on that? Does anybody not want to improve the
Right,
roads?
self-explanatory.
Okay.
Well, and to be clear, to be
Right.
clear on this, we do regularly maintain all county roads. But when we have to do a major rebuild of a road, a major upgrade of a road, such as we are doing now on Airport Road, on sections of Goldsboro Neck Road, this requires something that goes beyond the routine maintenance budget and requires a capital appropriation. And so this is appropriate and is going toward much needed road upgrades.
Okay. Any other questions or
No question.
comments? Okay. Okay, Madam Secretary, could you call the vote on 1541?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Okay. Next is 1542.
Bill number 1542, a bill to amend Bill number 1505 for the purpose of authorizing the appropriation for replacement of the 911 Division Computer-Aided Dispatch CAD system.
Okay. Any questions?
We'll just
We-
yield
we-
to Mr. Lesher.
Yep, we need 911.
We do need one, and this is a technology-intensive endeavor, and the technology cannot be allowed to go out of date. We need the system to be the best, and in fact, these folks using this technology are responding, are stepping up to the plate. In fact, when Caroline County's 911 system went down, we were able to step into the breach for a period until they were able to get theirs back up online. This will keep us where we need to be in terms of providing that vital life-saving service.
Okay. Any other? Okay. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote on 1542, please?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Okay, 1543, Madam Secretary.
Bill number 1543, a bill to authorize replacement of the roof at the White Marsh Elementary School.
Okay. Any questions? Good.
This
We
is
need-
just about keeping on top of the infrastructure that we have.
Okay. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote on 1543?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
Aye.
Okay, the last bill is 1544. That's what everybody wanted to hear.
Bill number 1544, a bill to amend Chapter 190 of the Talbot County Code, zoning, subdivision, and land development, Sections 190, 25.2, Table of Land Uses, Section 190-29, Commercial Uses, Section 190-29.7, Inn, and Section 190-78, Terms Defined regarding historic inns.
Great. Okay, any discussion?
No, no discussion.
Okay.
This is, and I sponsored this legislation. This is legislation that will, it's very narrowly drawn for a certain set of circumstances. We know of one property owner that came to us that meets these particular sets, who owns a historic inn, and this will allow that inn to expand its capacity to make it economically viable. Now, in the detail, of course, it is making a historic inn economically viable by allowing the use of rooms in modern structures that were built that are not part of the inn. Nevertheless, presumably that is, or we are told in the testimony that is what is needed to keep this historic inn historically viable, and maybe some other one down the pike that meets the same set of narrowly drawn circumstances.
Okay. Any other?
Yes,
Okay.
I just think that to do this amendment for one particular structure or inn, I question the appropriateness of that and whether there's control over other historic inns that may want to expand. So I'm not really in favor of this.
Okay.
And I'll just add that, you know, the business owner came in and explained how this would help increase the viability and the funds that's coming into the business. So anytime we can support a business to have more revenue coming into their business, I'm certainly in favor of that.
Well,
But it's that others may want to expand, but without the same justification as this particular one.
Well, they would
That's my
have to
concern.
confine to the same
so
zoning.
this is, to be clear, and I think to be legal, this cannot be affect just one property. It needs to be generally applicable legislation. And so it is not drawn for rezoning or permission for one particular parcel. It is drawn for parcels that meet these
Right.
criteria.
Well, that's my point. I mean, just because it may be economically viable for the parcel you said engendered this, doesn't mean that some other inn coming down the road might have the same justification. It's just,
Well, you know, the concern with legislation like this is always the unintended consequences,
Yes.
right? Is this going to allow for a use down the road in a neighborhood where this density of use, of development may not be appropriate? That's a legitimate question.
And I think the planning and zoning department did their due diligence as well to
Right.
work on the text amendment to ensure that it's within the confine of the law.
Okay. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and call the vote for 1544?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
nay.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Stepp?
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next on the agenda is clay stuff.
County Manager Report, yes,
Yep.
sir, thank you. This evening, under County Manager Report, Board and Committee appointments. The first one will be for the Board of Appeals. We're requesting the appointment of Mr. Ed Hikus to serve as the alternate member to the Board of Appeals.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
I'll move the appointment of Mr. Hikus.
Second,
Okay, we got a motion and second to move Mr. Hikus to the Board of Appeals. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
The next, we're asking council's consideration for the reappointment of Miss Jackie Wilson to the Economic Development Commission.
Is there a motion?
I will so move.
Second,
Okay, we got a motion second to put Miss Jackie Wilson on the Economic Development Committee. Call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
The next item would be requesting the appointment of Mr. Tom Lane to the Public Works Advisory Board representing District 1.
Okay. There-
Motion to approve Mr. Lane on the advisory.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Okay, we got a motion second to appoint Mr. Lane on the advisory board. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
And next, council, thank you for that. Next,
Okay.
I'd invite Mr. Preston Pepper, your Director of Recreation and Parks, up. He has a request this evening to award a contract for repairs and repaving at the community center to R.L. Ewing in the amount of $294,851.70 for repair and repaving in the community center parking area. He will be requesting, as far as procurement, to piggyback on a contract through Caroline County. Funding for this project is included in the capital project for the community center, and Preston will be here to fill any details for you and answer any questions. Preston?
So this is for the project for basically repaving of the entire community center property, all the way from the mailbox all the way back to Heiner's Lane. There's many spots that are very chewed up over the time. Obviously, with all the construction that's going on, it's getting even worse. The back half of it was never really asphalted. It was a tar and chip, and we just melded it to the other one, so that's been a problem. So this should alleviate all that, plus it would basically kind of complete the entire project going on out there.
That's good. Any other discussion?
No, just that I think it's good that you're able to piggyback off of Caroline County to get them to do this project for you, so that's a good thing, supportive of the request.
Preston, the only thing that I would sort of bring up to your attention is the expansion of the hospital in the back. And they have, and what I would like for you to do, if you don't mind, me and Mr. Stamp were just in a meeting Thursday or Friday with the board, and they haven't quite figured out how the entrance is going to be to the community center.
Right.
So I'm just kind of thinking out loud. This wouldn't take place until what? Probably like, is it going to be this year? You think, or is it
One of the reasons why going with a local one worked out well, because the thought was we could get this, it obviously has to be done before the mills close, which would be November.
I got you.
The hoping is we get it done November.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so I would like for you to get with Mr. Clark to make sure that whatever we do, we're not going to tear any new stuff up. That's
Right.
all. That's all. But
So I do know that Mr. Clark reached out to Preston, I think today, and they've, okay, well,
Okay. He will.
he is pulling together a meeting to take a look at alternatives with the entrance to the new hospital, and Preston's going to be front and center as part of that group, so that he can be comfortable in how access will be provided to the community center. And of course, you'll keep in mind what that tie-in will look like. I suspect the tie-in will be down the road a ways, but he will be engaged in that process.
Okay, good. Yeah, just want to let you know. That's
Okay.
Yep.
And also too, Preston has things on the books too for the booking for the new gymnasiums and
Right.
things,
That's true.
that are going to be coming in. So we
That's
want to make
true.
sure that the paving is done and that the parking lot doesn't have potholes when we have people from within the county visiting our community center, as well as those from the outside, because,
Right.
that's revenue for the county. So
Right.
we just want to make sure that it's in the best possible condition
Yeah.
when they come.
So is it on schedule to be like in November to be finished?
So it's not scheduled to be finished in November, but the outside will be done.
Gotcha.
So,
okay, good.
yeah, because most of it, it's the inside that's going to take the ending part of it.
I got you. All right. Well, it looks really good out there. You're doing a great job too.
Thanks.
Looks great. Looks great.
Preston's very excited, you can tell,
I tell you,
know.
it does seem
Okay,
exciting.
Yeah, he is.
It
He is.
really is.
But it is very exciting. There's a lot of work going on out there. This is, is it this month? It's the National Recreation
Yes.
Parks Month, and then, we have the pickleball courts out there. Sarah had done an article with him, and there's a lot of good energy being focused at the community center. So,
Yeah.
the paving project will just tie that up.
Yeah, it looked
It'll look
great.
good. It's
It'll look
exciting.
great.
Oh, one more thing, Preston, too. Do you have a date set yet for your ribbon cutting for the pickleball courts?
We do not yet.
No, we didn't have time to discuss that in scheduling this evening, so when I mentioned that, we'll be sending out an email tomorrow to try and
Okay,
determine a date. for
Okay.
the council to
Okay.
do that.
Good.
That'd be exciting. That'd
Yeah,
be,
that is. Yep.
that'd be good. And so, Mr. Stamp, just to reiterate, you said that Preston will be part of the work group with Ray Clark in regards to the discussion with the hospital and the road.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Right.
There's a working group that the hospital's put together. We'll make sure that Preston's a part of that. A subgroup to that effort is actually the county, led by Preston, and Ray Clark will be doing some schematic designs to present back to the hospital for some consideration. But yeah, that's absolutely the case.
Great, thank you.
Good. All good?
Ready for a motion?
Yep.
All right, motion to approve the request?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and second to go ahead and extend that contract and pave out there to the community center. Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Preston.
Yep, thank you.
Council, that concludes your county manager report for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stamp, appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. Do we have a?
Nobody signed up.
Nobody signed up? Okay. All right then. All right. Would anybody like to come up? Okay, all right. We're moving ahead. All right, next is going to be council comments. I know you just got off the Appalachian Trail here. You've got to have something for us.
I will save any comments for next time. Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yep, yep.
Apologize for my tardiness.
Oh, my God, now, I gave you a way out. All right, Ms. Melky?
Yes, I just like to recognize Nancy Sprecher, who is going to be celebrating her 100th birthday on Friday. And she is part of the greatest generation.
Nice.
She served in World War II in Guam as a nurse's aide and ambulance driver, married a Army Air Corps captain, and they've lived here for a long time. Raised their family here, and she will be getting a formal certificate of recognition, but I wanted to give her a shout out today.
Okay, great, that's great, that's great.
So
Ms.
I
Hay?
just wanted to remind everyone that beginning tomorrow, the emergency services announcing the cooling centers at the Easton Library and St. Michael's Library. So is this information on our website for the public? Oh, yes, it's on our website. So for more information regarding the times at the Easton Library and St. Michael's Library, please go to our county website.
Okay. All right, other than that, I don't have anything either, so I really appreciate everybody coming, and Mr. Lusher's gonna,
The County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, August 8th, beginning at 5 o'clock p.m. The council will be convening an open session at 3:30 p.m. and then adjourning into closed session to discuss matters as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting and reconvene as noted?
So moved.
okay, we got a motion second to Madam Secretary, could you call the vote?
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Ms. Milky?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, appreciate you guys.